So in terms of the Speckle workflows, that's what I'm here to talk about today. And I'll just give you a bit of an introduction. There's a couple of you that are familiar with Speckle, a couple are not. So effectively, there's a few of us involved. David and I started Speckle a couple of years ago, and we've been developing sort of what we call human-centric applications that connect the National Construction Code with specifications. So we're very interested in enabling specification to be, a more thorough process, more transparent process. We've got a couple of other folk here that are just silhouettes with mechanics as brains. They were just positions that we're filling. We've filled one of those positions this week and hoping to fill another position now in the coming weeks. So yeah, we've been moving forward and we've been creating really just simple applications. Now, we don't automatically add folk onto the newsletter unless you sign up. So if you want to get more information, we don't inundate people with information either. But if you do, that's at the bottom of our homepage. So speckle.io is the website. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you can just fill that in and you'll get some information from us. In terms of that snapshot, the snapshot is really what where we're currently at, a snapshot in time. We have lots of very, very well-known suppliers on Speckle. There's quite a few more in the wings. It normally takes suppliers, could take anywhere between 4 and 8 weeks to get a supplier on, because we've got to go through a process of auditing their data and reviewing what they've got and making sure that everything is valid. So it takes a little bit of time, but there's quite a few more folks coming into the mix now. We have 5 core applications where all the supplier data is sort of embedded, so you can get to select all of the numbers behind the supplier data without actually sort of going through a process of selecting it manually. Lots of users, lots of products, lots of registered projects. So we're continuing to grow nicely. This is the third of a series of webinars. These webinars are going to take us. This series is going to take us up to second week in June, where we'll be presenting our new full building simulation application. And that's a really exciting bit of work for us, because it's been a piece of work that we've been developing for the last 6 months, and we'll jump into what that is in a second. But before that, we're going to do some stuff on rain screen systems, do some stuff on thermal comfort considerations. Again, you can sign up for these either on LinkedIn or on our homepage. So they're easy to sign up to. Now, in terms of the applications, just wanted to be clear, like at the moment, we'll jump onto Speckle and we'll see what these applications are all about. That we have applications for glazing systems, wall systems, roof systems, floor systems, building assessments, and a couple of other sort of periphery applications. When I say periphery, I mean they're sort of applications that are going to now be embedded into the building assessment app. And again, we'll go into that, so don't be too concerned if you're not across what I'm saying at the moment, but effectively this is what we're going to be presenting to the market next month, because we're implementing what are called JV3 and thermal comfort calculations into our building assessment app. So effectively what you have is a one-stop shop solution for building simulation against National Construction Code requirements for Volume 1 and for Volume 2. So that's Volume 1 commercial, Volume 2 residential. So we're going to have, I guess, completed a cycle, if you like, in terms of what the applications that we wanted to develop to market. Lots of the applications still need tweaking, things that we'll do as we add more supply information on there. We find out more things that need to be resolved, and we resolve them. But effectively, what those apps on the right hand side are what you're going to be seeing now in the next by next month. So enough about that. Was just a bit of a Speckle. Hey, this is who we are. This is what we get up to. This webinar is intended to be about workflow, so the application of workflow in Speckle. Our considerations on what workflow means to us and what we've tried to do to increase workflow. And like any good dynamic animation of workflow, it's really this series of thoughts and processes and confirmations and reviews, and it goes through a cycle, and that cycle in terms of its effectiveness is comes down to whether it's time efficient, cost efficient, quality, what the quality is like in terms of the end outcome and the reliability of that end outcome. So the reason for this slide is just really just saying, hey, look, these are the types of things that we've been considering for a long while, and this is effectively what is these points, decision points come into focus for us each and every time we're making decisions about how the applications are built out. And that's provides me with a nice sort of segue into, well, what are they about? Well, they're about a couple of different things, okay? So the first thing the applications are about, it's about either conscious or unconscious navigation of the National Construction Code. So in some places where a user wants to dive into a lot more detail in terms of National Construction Code and whether they want to look at certain building applications, certain product applications, they can do so by going ahead and navigating in an area, the guide area of the code, the guide area of the platform, which gives you insight into the code. But there's also this element of navigation that we've built in from a workflow perspective that means that we will navigate for you in terms of the National Construction Code, so you don't have to go chasing numbers in the code. We've already gathered all that information for you, so it's already there in the background. So that's, I guess, the first step in terms of how we see the requirement to expedite workflow from a National Construction Code point of view. On that point, while Speckle is all about National Construction Code in terms of its minimum requirement, it aims to expedite things so anyone that's using it can go above and beyond the code. The fact is that 95% of the market is working to the minimum performance of the code, the National Construction Code. So while we focus on here, it does not mean that you cannot go above and beyond and get much better value out of your buildings. The next step, once you've gone through that navigation, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, you get to play around with apps. So this is the fun bit. This is the bit that is the central experience of the workflow. This is about playing around with applications. And again, we'll jump onto those in a practical example in a bit in order to show you how this workflow is effectively expedited through quick decision-making around designs, and how our working with suppliers over the last year and a half has enabled us to really put forward positions or templates whereby which those templates have been reviewed and agreed that if you use that template, you are good to go. So we'll work on that in a second. And then the final step is about specification. Now, specification has always been the focus of the end focus, the end product, if you like, of the workflow that we've envisaged from day one, because specification is effectively why we're called Speckle. SPEC comes from specification, and we want specification to be fully verifiable. We want it to be a higher value mechanism in how we build buildings, and we want it to provide more assurance that once we design something, we're actually going to get what we designed. So we see a lot of value in it, and we've with my own personal consultant hat on, I've seen the devaluing of specification for years, and this is one of the reasons why we put it front and center in terms of our aspirations to get Speckle used by as many folks as possible. Now, that aspiration is not just shared by us, it's seemingly shared by the new performance-based design brief. So that's what that PBDB stands for, performance-based design briefs. It comes in on July the 1st, and it's really a new requirement for any project that's undertaking performance solutions against the National Construction Code. So it's fantastic for us, and we've used the performance-based design brief in terms of workflow to define the reports that's in Speckle. So that's important to know. Speckle provide performance solutions against the National Construction Code in order to provide performance-based design briefs. Way too many references to performance there. So in terms of as we move through I guess this presentation, the focus here is really just to now talk about the timeline of workflow and how we've approached this. So I'm opting to use those terms: navigate, design, and specification again, because they're the core, I guess central points in which we've developed out the applications. So in terms of the navigate stuff, we've kind of covered that. Yes, you can navigate the National Construction Code against various applications. So these applications are either individual, glazing, wall, roof systems and floor, or they're whole building assessments. But ultimately, the process is to use those applications in your workflow in order to define a specification that meets this performance solution requirement, and now the PBDBs. So hopefully this is making a bit of sense to you. So in terms of where we've got to a point where effectively, if we talk about workflow, we've kind of got to the point where we've developed three core streams of workflow. So these workflows are defined by what we call our supplier workflow. A supplier workflow, as I'll go into in a second, is a workflow where a supplier has an independent version of Speckle on their website or in a place of their choosing. It doesn't necessarily need to be available to everyone. It can be a private link that suppliers choose to use with certain clients, or they can use it with everyone. And I'll give you some examples of that. We've also got systems workflows. So this is more about workflows pertaining to wall systems, floor systems, roof systems. And then we've got that whole building workflow. So these are I guess the central points of the presentation now. And when it comes to the supplier workflow, for these folks that are presented on the screen now, you can jump onto any of their websites or get in touch with these people. And these companies have a copy of Speckle, effectively a deployment of Speckle, whereby which you can undertake a workflow to get specification against the products within the design in order to meet National Construction Code requirements. Now, this workflow itself doesn't allow full navigation of the National Construction Code and is a bit lighter on the specification side of things. I'm just going to turn off my phone before that starts to ring. Sorry, guys. So it's a little bit lighter on the specification side of things, but just to give an example, you can now jump on to the DC Tech website. So DC Tech are a supplier that has systems. They sell systems, whether it's a wall system or a roof system. Their interest is the fact that they have multiple products that can make up a system, and they would like to present that as a solution for your project. So Damien, as an architect, they might say, okay, here is a bunch of pre-set up systems whereby which you can meet National Construction Code requirements. So effectively, you can jump on to their website or AWS or Veridian and select a system in order to then produce a report against the National Construction Code requirements. Now, that report, as I said, is a bit lighter on the specification. It doesn't provide all the details that we provide on Speckle, but it's a great place to start because you've effectively probably clicked your mouse 3 or 4 times in order to get that specification against the National Construction Code. So it is super, super quick. All you've done is provided your information, not even information about the project. You can put any information you want about the project, but the location of the project, where we've got the climate and the building class, and effectively you've got a solution against the National Construction Code to a degree. So if you're just plugging this in and saying, okay, I'm going to use this for my walls, I'm going to use something else for my glass, then you could go to AWS for your glazing, and you could go to DC Tech for your walls, and then you'd have solutions for both. So you can put them forward and see how it goes and discuss them with the rest of your design team. So this is, I guess, what we call our supplier workflow, and it's the quickest workflow. So it's there because it's a great way for Speckle to, I guess, or for Speckle to be valued as a third party verification calculation, and we've got increased interest with a lot more suppliers to add deployments to their websites, both here and overseas. So it's great because it gives us some marketing as well. It gives you a very, very, very quick result at no cost, zero cost. And yeah, we think it's a great solution. When we step into this next workflow, the system workflow, this is on Speckle now, okay? I should put a ring around system and whole building workflow there, but these are both on Speckle, and the added value here is that the specification detailing is far further, far more advanced. So it's really performance solutions against the National Construction Code with all the information you're required to provide in order to illustrate to a building surveyor that you've done all the work that you need to do. So let's look at this. So from a system workflow perspective, you can go ahead and maybe use the glazing, the wall and roof or floor systems in order to design a system to meet the code requirements. Now, I'm just going to jump onto Speckle now. Hopefully that if I click that, it's going to give me some love. Yes, okay, cool. I'm just going to ask for just a quick confirmation that you can see that. I do have problems sometimes. Can someone confirm that they can see that?
Yeah, it can be seen, Darren.
Thank you, Paul. Cheers for that. So, so in terms of the Speckle side workflow of things, as I mentioned, we've got a bunch of applications over here on the right-hand side. So this is where we enable people to just build out systems. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just start from scratch for you, just to show you. I'm going to just add a new project onto Speckle. Okay. So we're going to call this a new project, and then I'm going to show you how you can utilize this process better. If you haven't used it before, then this is just all going to be fresh for you. But we're effectively we're identifying a project, a location, a building class, a climate, and we're just going to create a project now. So now we've created this project. When it comes to the workflow and the systems, what we can do is go ahead and create a design. Let's call this wall system 1. Okay, I've called this wall system 1 because I'm going to show you a process how to expedite the process of creating secondary, tertiary wall systems, so you can speed things up. So let's say wall system 1. Let's just go for XLAM. Okay, so let's say wall system 1. You're really interested in a CRT solution by XLAM, and you're interested in this particular solution now. So now we're looking at the wall application. The wall application allows you to, if you hover over it, you'll see the materials there on the left. You'll see the resultant performance in terms of R value there on the right. And you'll also see where it sits in terms of the National Construction Code. You'll be able to download a report directly from this. And once you download the report, you can add a theme to it if you've created a theme. So that's your own branding, if you like. And then you can pop that open. And then this is a far more detailed report against National Construction Code requirements. So if you haven't used Speckle, you can use it, do all of this for free. But effectively, this allows you to go ahead and produce very detailed reports to put in your projects. Now, I'm just going to go on to that. So you can also get other information there, of course. This webinar isn't about the details of the application, so I'm going to stand away from it a little bit. But you can do, because there's a couple of new folk on here, you can go ahead and do life cycle assessments. You can look at temperature factor. You can look at condensation. You can do a bunch of things there. And of course, you can develop this out if you wanted to make it a little bit different. You wanted to, let's say you wanted to go ahead and add an air layer there. So you can go ahead and do that, and it will then change the performance. You can go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to change that CLT layer, for example, and you're going to choose a slimmer CLT layer, you might want to change the glass wool over to an actual specification. So, excuse me, let's go into glass wool and let's just put, just select a product by, we'll select a product by R value, and let's just put in some Knauf insulation there, unstable vapor resistance, there's something going on there. Let's go to another product, Big to Doom. I just wonder why all those acoustic products are there. I'm gonna go here. Let's go for that wall back there. So you can go ahead and specify this how you like, but importantly, you can go ahead and save it as you go. And now this is where the workflow stuff comes in. So now, because I've created a project, I can just leave this here and I can go back into that new project, and then I can go and say, okay, what I want to do is I want to create a copy of that and do a variation of that. So this is, I guess, Damien, for example, where an architectural specification may benefit. You may want to go, okay, cool. Yeah, they're two quite similar systems, but what I want to do with this system, I want to do something really, really quite simple, is I want to go ahead and change that CLT layer, and that's it. So you can go ahead and advance the details of that, and then you may want to go back again and say, okay, I'm going to repeat that process one more time. And you know that this could be, you could be putting details forward for a project that you're working on, and just saying, look, these are the details that I'd like to discuss, and that's it. So you can build out these wall types very, very quickly without the need to be concerned about really the overall performance values, and everything's kind of done for you. So it's a really quick and easy way to do this. And sticking with the theme of workflow, you can, if you're in your new project, let's say you've created these, and you can of course you can print out reports for these, but you wanted to go ahead and share these. You can go ahead and share these with anyone you want. So invite a guest over to the project, and then they can go ahead and share. There's just one message coming in. Okay, that's fine. Someone just saying goodbye. So that's one potential workflow. Now, of course, we've got multiple apps that do similar things in many ways. I mean, like the roof and the floor, they all do thermal resistance calcs, and they do some other life cycle assessment calcs, but the workflow process is going to be exactly the same. You could also do the same for glazing as well. So if you wanted to go ahead and create a glazing system, we could do the same thing. Glazing 01. Go ahead and select a glazing system, maybe from AWS, and then just save that. And that could be your glazing variation 1. You might want to go a little bit further and maybe add a theoretical wall. Now, this is diving into how the applications work, so I'm aware of the fact that we only have a small amount of time left. So, but you can go ahead and say, okay, for this system, I'm just going to save a 50% wall. And then you might want to go and copy that and go, oh, let's do it with the 60% wall, 70% wall, because that's going to change your compliance strategy. So it enables you to very, very quickly go through all of that at a speed that you just cannot do elsewhere. You can't do this in spreadsheets or anything like that. So hopefully that makes a bit of sense. I will now jump on to the next area, and that's the whole building stuff. So this is the stuff that has us really excited, because we're nerds and we love doing we love the process, but we also love achieving stuff. And the achievements that we're about to hopefully get across are going to be quite substantial in terms of undertaking full simulation modeling against Volume 1 and Volume 2. Now, so effectively, this is what you have in the system workflow. I didn't update this title to say building, but the building workflow allows you to use the information within your system workflow within your whole building workflow. So you can go ahead and select systems that you've already created for example, those CLT wall systems and bring that into the whole building. So again, let's go ahead and look at an example here. I'm just going to click on that and hope for the best. And there you go. So what you can see now is the Speckle approach. This is the building assessment application. And this is the application that's going to see all that cool stuff coming in terms of JV3 thermal comfort. So everything gets embedded in here. So what you can do here is you can go, okay, I've got this floor plan, and this floor plan is going to need a little bit of love in terms of its details. So as you go through, you can start navigating the individual aspects of the floor plan, for example. And let's say you wanted to pick an actual specified wall that you'd already worked up in a design. That wall there is actually connected to this project, and this project is not connected to the project that we've just created. So there's a bit of that might be a little bit confusing. I hope it's not too confusing, but this is just a wall that's already been added to this project because I've just grabbed another project. But you can effectively go ahead and select that wall and then bring that detailed calculation into this process. Now, that's one way of using this process. You can, of course, just stick with, I guess, this definition over here of very low to low performance, high performance, if you're unfamiliar with it. But there's effectively two workflows. So it kind of splits out into, hey, let's play around with a concept design versus let's jump in and do more detailed calc. So this is the way that we've resolved that we're giving the user an option to go, okay, let's do some detailed stuff, or let's just stick around in an easier place, and then you can then run your calculations against the National Construction Code in order to get your project to meet the minimum performance requirements. So that was the, I guess, the last component of on the workflow side of things. I only wanted to spend about half an hour, and I'm about that there now, guys. So did much of that make sense at all? Damien, thank you, mate. Cool. What any comments at all? The intent was just to really give you an idea of how best to approach this. One of the things that we've been thinking about is at the project level. So am I still sharing my screen? What screen am I sharing now, guys? What can you see?
Still sharing a screen, Darren.
Which one is it, Speckle?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So one of the features that I wanted to add in, we've scoped it out. We know we need to do it, is that really at this level here, to be able to produce a report for all the systems in your project, right? So at the moment you have to go through, okay, into that design, produce a report. Into that design, produce a report. Into that design, produce a report. So you get your report for wall system 1, 2, and 3. What we're going to do is really have a button here so you can report on all of your systems within your project. So for anyone that is needing to document all of that, then it's really effectively all in one space. So that's just I guess a workflow aspiration that we've got. Anything that you guys have seen that that probably points that we could be adding in terms of advanced specification and improving workflow?
No points to add, Darren. Just wondering with the that third element there, the whole building element, who are you anticipating the users to be to create? It looks like you create that model within Speckle itself.
Yep, absolutely.
So you're expecting that to be the architects will come along and build their own model within there?
I don't necessarily expect that, Paul. I mean, what I'm finding is that the engagement is still very much with engineers. So it's a cross section of engineering firms of small to large. There is no real defined trend, to be honest, Paul. Our friends in the architectural space have taken a renewed interest in specification, in Speckle, but in specification. And I am being approached by more of the big architectural firms now because they are interested, but you know, it's normally, you know, typically speaking, in an architectural firm, you might have two people that are across this sort of space. So you know, what the uptake would be like, I couldn't say at this point in time, because you know, it's really it's still early days for architects to start designing around the performance of the building, right? You know, something that you and I, Paul, we've seen for a long time in terms of aspiring to do so, but it's not something that is certainly, there's certainly no charge from the architecture community to start doing this themselves. But I would say, crystal balling, that probably the architectural firms that are much more price sensitive, that do not want to outsource this, they want to save themselves $5,000 on the JV3 model. Why not?
Yeah. Okay. So do you think that it will become something like where an architect can form a really quick opinion about what's needed during the design development, for example, and because it ultimately a building surveyor, it's a JV3 assessment, say. It's a performance solution, and the building surveyor is going to have to satisfy themselves as to the qualifications and experience of the person providing the report. So I guess that there may be an element of sort of that required at the end of the day, but potentially
depends. I mean, it depends. I mean, in terms of the software does the engineering for you effectively. So you're only just drawing around shapes and picking wall and glazing types. So it's I don't know. It's too early to tell as to whether folks will get confident. I personally think that, you know, we're going through a bit of a change in the industry at the moment. I think that we're seeing a greater drive in terms of technical proficiency of buildings, and particularly the building envelope. So I think, I think there's a good chance that folks will start dabbling, but sign off may be something else, right? So there could be that scenario of, hey, I like this, but does my insurance cover this? So that's why we've always had this shared function. So let's say an architect AE jumps on and goes, yeah, cool, I've done this. Hey, I'm going to share this with Paul, and he's going to tell me if it's done right and sign off on it. Could be that. Yeah.
It might be that they don't want to spend that $5,000, but they'll spend $2,000 on the sign off.
Maybe. Yeah. And cool. We only want to keep things open, right? So we're not. We want to create as much opportunity for people to do what they want, and we have actually spoken about internally and actually approached the market in terms of I guess a preferred experience or a Speckle experience list. So if you are in that position, sorry, someone's got loud noise in the background.
Sorry, I got to turn off my thing.
Yeah, so we have looked at maybe a Speckle sort of user database where if an architectural firm wanted to jump onto there, and they didn't want to sign off, but they wanted to verify, then we're thinking about providing some sort of verification process which directly attaches to the users to give the users more benefit. So it's a bit of a, hey, yeah, cool, you can get going, and then you can click a button, then select a list of people, and then contact one of those people. So we've been thinking about that too, because that might be a solution for that. Hey, I can take it 50%, but I don't want anything to do with the last 50%.
Thanks, Darren.
No problem. Any other questions there, guys?
Unfortunately, I missed the very beginning of that, Darren, the presentation, because I was in another meeting. So I'll have to watch the replay when you eventually do it again.
Yeah, that's why this is recorded, so yeah, you can have that. You've heard it all before, Vince, so don't worry. And anything else there, guys?
Just a quick question about how this Speckle could interact with an existing design model from an architect's perspective. If we wanted to test out the design before we even get to the compliance stage, if we think it's working from a building performance perspective.
Yeah. So is it Hina? Is that your name? Yeah. Hina, what we've done, we said, okay, interoperability, of course, like it's an interesting question. How, what's the best way to approach it? We've looked at sort of the Revit APIs and that type of thing. But at this point in time, we're like, well, there's just not enough value in us jumping into that. Our position has been that, to be honest, it's so quick to create a multi-story, multi-class building in Speckle that, the 15 minutes that it takes you to do it is not really a hindrance on your part. And it's probably, you'll see in the next version of the building assessment app that's about to come out that, it's, you can quickly just, push, let's say you want to just create a mass, stack it, stick 60% window to wall ratio across it. Like, it'll take you all of 2 minutes to do it. Like, it's extremely fast once you know how to quickly navigate it. And for you, I think you mentioned sort of concept, just getting those ideas. You could easily do that, and then you can then change it and change the shape and do a different sort of articulation of the floor plate, for example, and then go up with that. And it's very, very easy to do it. So I don't think I think in the interoperability side of things is we're not quite there yet, because the CAD interface that we have is fairly efficient.
Okay. I haven't played with it, but yeah, I'll give it a go and see. I'll let you know.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. No problem. Just you can always give us a shout at support@speckle.io. We're more than happy to help out folk. Cool. Thanks for that. Any other questions there, guys? Yeah, the deathly silence is normally the end of it, isn't it? Okay. So, Paul, did you have one?
No, I was going to say I don't have one. Just, yeah.
All right. Okay, well, look, I'll leave it with you there then, guys. So, look, we've got a few more presentations coming up, and it'll be a few weeks now until we ramp up to some really interesting stuff. Can do some rain screen cladding assessments next week. So look at sort of various products that are used in the rain screen application, and we've got some advanced calculations that, of course, you don't have to do. We do it for you. Your process is fundamentally the same, but you will be able to go through and look at some more interesting outputs from that, and look at the externalization of the insulation layer, which is something that we're starting to see more on hospitals and high performance buildings. So hopefully that will be of interest to a few people. But thank you very much for jumping on today.
Darren, I just wanted to say thank you for putting all of this together. I've only just really begun playing with Speckle myself and started to build wall systems and to test them. And so it's a bit of a learning curve for me at the moment, and I'm excited that you have a whole building assessment. I wonder if you have any information about the pricing structure. I apologize, I came to this a bit late. I had somewhere else I needed to be a bit earlier.
So the pricing structure for Speckle, is it?
Yes.
Okay. So the pricing structure for Speckle, pretty much, I'll talk about the future pricing structure as of next month, but effectively you'll be able to jump on there for $199 a month to do JV3 modeling and do everything. So we've gone through a process of just trying to sort of work out where the price point is at and that type of thing, we're coming down to a price point of if you want to pay $199 a month, that's 30 days, and then you can cancel it. You'll get a warning 7 days before, and then you can just turn it off. We still hold all the information there for you, and then you may come back 2 months later and go, okay, cool, I'm going to jump back onto that project now because it's not dead anymore, it's gone live again. Then you don't have to pay that $400 in between in that stop period. So we've got a pricing on and off type system, or you can pay up front for the year, and that's based on a 25% reduction per month, so 149 bucks a month. So that's where it's at. I mean, that's it's a couple of years in development. We've got a lot of stuff going on there now. So we're hoping that we're going to see a lot more traction, and we're getting more people on there every day now. So it's definitely getting to the point where we probably need to spend a bit of money on marketing.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay. Well, thank you very much for all of your time. You can always hit me up at darren@speckle.io. I think most of you will have that email address. I should have sent something over today. Feel free. Hopefully it all made sense. Okay. I'll leave it there. Take it easy and speak to you soon.
Thanks, Darren.
Thank you.
All right.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.